Well, tonight would have been a very fun game to talk about, and it still is, but we have kind of the wait and see for what happened to Jared Spurgeon after a dirty play by the Predators. 5-3 win for the Minnesota Wild to close out 2024. We'll talk about Rossi's performance, Gustavsson's performance, a step in the right direction for Matt Boldy, and a dirty play by the Nashville Predators, all on tonight's postcast. Let's get it rolling.
You are Locked On Wild Postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Minnesota Wilds come away with a 5-3 win over the Nashville Predators to close out 2024. And before we dive into all the particulars, let's just start by stating the obvious. What a dumb, dirty play by Zachary L'Heureux of the Nashville Predators. I'm assuming what Isha is talking about here is obviously, for those that didn't see it, Jared Spurgeon was going into the boards, and L'Heureux puts his leg directly behind both of Spurgeon's legs. Spurgeon slams into the boards and needed help to get to the bench. It was a dumb, dirty play, stupidly reckless. And it turns out that L'Heureux guy has a bit of a rap sheet from the minors, from everywhere. He's lucky, frankly, that he got the match penalty and left the game, because somebody would have, you hope, somebody would have put him into the boards, because it's just such a jackassy kind of a play, and it's beyond reckless, and it probably cost Spurgeon a good majority of the rest of the season. So we got that to deal with, but we'll talk about that as the night unfolds. Let's get to some of the good things that we saw. Britt starts us off. That was a good game, letting the puck rip. Hard hits from Foligno, 3 goals from the power play. Hate to say it because I'm still salty, but Gus had more points than Boldy did. I'm going to give Boldy a pass tonight. I think it was a step in the right direction for him. Obviously, you want him to be taking the lead, but Matt Zuccarello and Marco Rossi took care of that here tonight. Boldy did not commit a penalty. He had 4 shots on goal, had a couple of hits and a couple of takeaways. So I'm going to give him a pass for tonight's game. That's part of the process. Is you're not going to just immediately go back to where we want him to be, but he was not a detriment in tonight's game. So I will consider that progress for Matt Boldy. And to be honest, I don't feel like dogging anybody other than Zachary L'Heureux for tonight's game. Gus was insane. Britt is dead on here. Let's take a look and see how many goals Gus saved above expected. I would be willing to bet that Nashville puts a 4 or a 5 piece in the expected goals category tonight. They generated a good amount. Nashville's chance to make the playoffs is down to 2.71%. It's a team. Nashville's a team that is dead, and they're playing like they know it. They can kind of feel that they are dead in the water. Wild offense tonight generated 4.2 expected goals. That's a nice number. That is a nice number for an offense that's been anemic. Oh my God. The Nashville Predators, by extension, they generated 7.49 expected goals tonight. So Filip Gustavsson was 4.5 goals saved above expected. Wow. I think that's the high water mark for a Gus game that I've seen so far this season, which is great. Gus was great. The Wild needed him to be great, but we got some key contributions. The Wild got key contributions from players that we just have not seen enough from over the last handful of games. Now, Marco Rossi is one of those probably 3 players that you expect to do it on a nightly basis, but it's still great to see. And this might be on a short list of one of the best games Marco Rossi has had all season. 2 goals, an assist, 7 shots on goal, 12 of 15 in the faceoff circle. He just wholesale kicked rear end all up and down the ice in tonight's game. That's probably, I'm just going to say it. That's the best game that Marco Rossi has had this season, which we always love to see those. But Filip Gustavsson, obviously, whether you want to go star 1 or star 2, those 2 really did the heavy lifting in this one tonight. I thought Declan Chisholm continued really strong play for him. I don't envy what the defense had to do after Jared Spurgeon got knocked out of the game by, again, a dirty, dirty hit. Make no mistake about it, a dirty, dirty hit. I'm going to keep saying it because it really kind of irritates me because it's beyond reckless. It's beyond reckless. It's stupid. That one's gonna sit with me for a while. And just zero reason for that type of play. Frankly, it's gross. And now Jared Spurgeon pays the price for it. So, yeah, not great at all. I got to get to a stat here as we'll keep going through. I got to get to a stat on the penalty kill, courtesy of Brett Marshall, that is going to paint an interesting picture for this season. Let's see if I can find it here in quick order. Of course not. I'll find it. Don't worry. Okay. From Brett Marshall. The Minnesota Wild penalty kill has allowed at least 1 goal against in 22 games this season. In those games, they have a record of 9-10-3. Only 5 of those 9 wins were in regulation, with the last one on November 29th. This means the Wild are now 13-1-1 when the kill was perfect or when they committed no penalties. They have lost 6 straight games since December 12th when allowing a goal while on the kill. That 1 penalty tonight for the Nashville Predators. But I think it was good work by the Wild power play. And guess what? They got to the net. They got to the net tonight. How long have we been talking about that? And just needing to see the Wild get more shots to the net as opposed to, from outside. Unblocked shot attempts on Justus and Noonan tonight, 51, which is a nice number. 33 were low danger. 13 were medium danger and 5 were high danger. So 18 medium or in shot attempts that's a very nice number. That is delightful. Delightful from the Minnesota Wild offense here tonight, and a large reason that they won this game. So we'll talk more about that, but I'm going to go to the. I don't get the roughing call on that. What is he supposed to do? Not stand up for Spurgeon? I would have loved to have seen the officials just let the next thing go against the Nashville Predators, because again, you're dealing with a dirty hit. I'm going to keep saying it. So I hope that people don't mind me continuing to say that it was a dirty hit, because it was a dirty hit on Jared Spurgeon. So just a dirty hit. I'm just going to keep saying it. But yeah, and then on the Faber thing too, I don't know how John Merrill got the penalty there, but I love that Faber got right in Forsberg's grill and was like, get out of here. Get away from our goalie. Even if Faber would have taken a penalty there, I know it's late in the game. Doesn't bother me one bit. To be honest, I kind of want to see a little bit more of that from this team, a little bit more of that fire. And I think you could kind of tell after Spurgeon went out of the game that the Wild wanted to do a little more of that. But circle that final matchup. I think there's one more matchup against the Nashville Predators this season. And somebody, it wouldn't surprise, or actually we play Nashville on the 18th. And when do we play them again after that? I think that must be it. Yeah, that's it. So January 18th at Nashville. Zachary L'Heureux better have his head on a swivel. That's all I'm saying. Because you do something that dirty, there are going to be consequences beyond just Department of Player Safety. I'm really trying to not like dive off the deep end and go into just a huge rant, because that's one of the dirtiest plays. It's probably one of the dirtiest plays I've ever seen. I don't give two rips if I'm exaggerating it. Just beyond reckless and gross and stupid. Spurgeon, in Trav's opinion, done for the season. Gus with the .935 save percentage gave them a chance to win. Wild beat a bottom feeder, so nothing to get too excited about. Nice to see the power play have 3 goals. That's what I take from it. Knowing the Wild, we won't get any updates on Spurgeon until he's placed on LTIR. Yeah, we're not gonna get any updates tonight. The fact that he was already ruled out for the rest of the game, probably not a great sign. So I guess we'll just have to see what sort of a dirty play, what sort of a suspension that dirty play leads to. Hartman finally got a point. Yeah, that's something to celebrate here tonight. Ryan Hartman breaking a 19-game goal or pointless streak. Actually, it should be a 19-game streak with no points, or it should just be called a pointless. I don't know. The semantics there feel weird to me, but I would love to see more of those be broken in due time, because yeah. Preds players should be suspended as long as Spurgeon is out, and that includes minor leagues as well. He's got a record. So what do they say about somebody that commits a crime with a record? Throw the book at him. There's so many different tweets, and I'm still trying to get my blood under control, my blood from boiling over on that hit. Russo called it a blatant cheap shot. A couple other people I saw said similar things. It's just beyond unnecessary. So I hope it's a 10, 15 game suspension at the minimum. And if he plays in that game on the 18th, I hope somebody caves his face in. You psyched us out Sunday and said you'd be doing a live on Monday, and neither of those happened. Then you said postcast after Ottawa, and that never happened. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this tonight. I have been pretty upfront about the fact that my schedule has completely flipped on its head, and it's one of those things that I'm giving you above and beyond what other shows are giving their audiences. So if I overpromise, I guess that's on me. But I make an effort to be here as much as I can without getting burned out. And you can go to pretty much any other show in the network. There are probably 80 to 90% of the shows that don't even do postcasts. Just do standard episodes. So Teammates calling the win bittersweet. Captain on crutches with a big leg brace walking out of the arena. So that's great. That's going to be fun. Spurgeon LTIR, that gives us $7-8 million to do something with. Is it worth giving up picks for anyone quality to replace? I think it makes sense for the Wild to go after somebody on defense. But here's the problem. It's too early in the season for anybody to be legitimately out of playoff contention. So Bill Guerin can call Lou Lamoriello if Brock Nelson is the route you want to go. Lou Lamoriello does not have to do a damn thing at this point in the season. And so I know there's frustration that Bill Guerin hasn't made a move yet. There are no teams that are legitimately out of playoff contention that have anything to offer you. Buffalo Sabres, I mean, you could go get a veteran there, but I don't want anybody from the New York Rangers. It's an old, slow team. I don't need any bit of that. Maybe you could look at a team like the Detroit Red Wings. New York Islanders are, as of right now, 5 points out of a playoff spot. Until they get to like 10 or 15 out, Lou Lamoriello is not even picking up the phone. So, to be fair, there are a lot of players on this team that can pick up their performance. And that will help with a big handful of these problems if players carry their weight. So there is not going to be any sort of a trade made here for probably at least another month. Maybe you can pull a hockey trade with somebody, but the further from the trade deadline it gets, the higher price you pay. Brock Nelson is going to cost 2 arms, a leg, and a foot. He's that good of a player, and the New York Islanders are not in position to have to make a move right now. So the trade stuff is not going to ramp up until probably a week or two before the trade deadline. It's just not. Let's get back to the Rossi conversation tonight because Rossi was, like I said, I thought it was one of Rossi's best games of the season. And he just continues to do everything that this team asks him to do. And it's to the point now that Bill Guerin has publicly said, I'm not trading him, which is good to hear. But I like to think that it has been well beyond that. I don't think they've been looking to move him for quite a while. 2 more goals tonight, which I think puts him at 14 for the season. And he has 18 assists. So you're talking 32 points. What did he have last year? He is 8 points away from... He's 8 points away from his total last year. He is 7 goals away from his goal mark last year. Like, we're just seeing him. We're just seeing him make the climb. And like the extension will come. The extension will come eventually. Any word on how Jiricek has looked? Well, from what I heard, Jiricek scored tonight. From what I've gathered, he's had some good games. He's had some so-so games. How much of that is factored into what we continue to see from that Iowa team? I don't really know, but to be honest, I would rather a bigger body come in, and also let's consider the fact of the shot splits once again on defense. Jared Spurgeon is one of your few. Well, I guess it's not as big of a disparity now, but he's a right-hand shot, and so a right-hand shot defenseman should replace him in the lineup. We'll see what happens. I really, you also have Travis Dermott here, so he would, I imagine, become the 7th defenseman. And you go then Bogosian, Brodin, Chisholm, Faber, Merrill, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe Dermott plays. Maybe Dermott slots in and plays, and then you bring Jiricek up and you kind of rotate him in. Dermott is a left shot defenseman. Maybe he just ends up being kind of your backup seventh defenseman. I really don't know. I would imagine we will get more info about that. John Hines said it was a cheap hit in an undisciplined play. Fully echo that. Dirty play. I'm just going to keep saying it. I don't give two rips what anybody else thinks. It's just there's no place for that in the game at all. And to be quite honest, if that particular player never plays another game in the NHL, that's fine by me. That would not be a long enough type of suspension. So we'll see what we get for updates. I wonder if maybe we'll get some updates tomorrow. If we do, of course, I'll have an episode for you. This injury is 100% preventable. I mean, in that L'Heureux should have not been a piece of shit. I guess I don't understand. Like, are we saying that it's Spurgeon's fault that he got injured? I guess I don't understand. So I'm going to move on. What else? Where are we at? I'm getting close to banning trade talk until January, end of January. Add it to the list of banned terms, like we're on Twitter. Marcus Johansson is officially a banned term for 2025. John Merrill is a banned term for 2025. I'll lift the ban on trade stuff at the end of January. And Zachary L'Heureux is a banned term as well, at least at this point. For the record, I was poking fun. And so was I. Somebody had a tweet that said, Russo said, Jiricek is looking good. Where did it go? I don't... Oh, it was Hoptics. Russo said he looks good. Apparently the knock is that he doesn't skate well. But honestly, if you go look at clips of him, he seems to be completely fine. And I think if you pair him with somebody responsible defensively, I think there's enough to cover that up. I wouldn't be too worried about him not being a good skater or as good of a skater. Put him with Brodin. There are a lot of different options. You got a lot of different responsible defensive skaters on this team to where I think you can cover him up, and I think he can be just fine. I think the original timeline for Jake Middleton was the 7th of... that's not what I was looking for. What the hell is the... Not... Oh, it's Puckpedia. I was like, what is the cap-friendly replacement? Middleton's expected return January 7th. I think that's way too generous. I would guess end of the month. Yeah. Look at that. And late January at the latest. Same timeline as Brodin. The fact that Middleton has begun skating again is a good sign, but I think he's still probably a ways away. Thank God we haven't had any closed door meetings yet. Oh, I see what you're saying. That's my fault, Ron. If Spurgeon isn't slew-footed, I thought for some reason no, doesn't matter what I thought. Yeah, that's accurate. And yeah, dirty play. Did I mention that I thought the L'Heureux hit was a dirty play? Just making sure everybody knew my thoughts on that play, that dirty play. But yeah, I don't know. Like, guys, it was a dirty play. Just making sure everybody knows my thoughts, my standings. By the way, do you like my new little backdrop piece? I really am in a position where I can't do much background-wise because this is all doors. But I don't know. I'm starting to put stuff up on the walls in the apartment, and it's all going to be sports stuff. So that's a fun little addition to the old apartment. It's kind of tiny, but it's a small wall back there. And yeah, this is another piece too. I went back and looked. He added a kick in as well. So honestly, if somebody would have cracked him in I don't know. I don't want to get into the eye for an eye. I just would have loved to seen Foligno or Bogosian or even Faber or somebody else just cave his face in with a couple of punches. I don't know. It's just a stupid play. Stupid play. We got how's Gus looked since coming back from injury? I think Gus has looked fine over the last few games. I know the numbers within the context, the numbers tonight within the context of the game, I thought he was fantastic. When you give up 3 goals and the opponent has an expected goals of 7.5, you've played pretty well. You've played pretty darn well. So I thought Gustavsson looked good. He was great against Ottawa, fantastic against Dallas. I think he has come right back to where he was. It's just one of those. It just depends on what the opponent does. You know, how many expected goals does your opponent have? If they have 2 and you give up 1 goal, then yeah, that was a great start. If the opponent is expected to score 7.5 and they give up 3, it may end up being one of your best starts of the season. Despite giving up 3, I like that. That's the high water mark that I've seen a team have against the Minnesota Wild this year. So I'm going to walk back and say that this was one of Gus's best starts of the season. So I don't think there are any lingering concerns about his injury. He's sharp. He's bouncing around. He's same old good Gus. As the season continues, let's talk about this for a little bit. This is a great point by Dougie. Chisholm is turning himself into a top 4 D-man, and it's a huge reason as to why this team has defensively been able to at least tread water with Middleton out. Now with Spurgeon out, with those 2 out, that's going to be very tough because it just is. Just because of stuff that I've previously said where it's so hard to spread out multiple key pieces and just say, okay, guys, everybody just grab a piece of the pie and let's see if we can overcome this. It's easy. It's easier to do with 1 player out, but with 2 key pieces out, it's going to be on everybody to improve. But Chisholm he's been on a run of not just like good fill-in play, but really good play on both sides. He had the goal tonight on a nice shot from the top of the zone, and he's only been in minus territory a couple of times over the last several games, and he's playing like 16, 17, 18 minutes a night. pretty much every night, and he just continues to make nice plays offensively. He's not a liability defensively. I think the phrase that I'd use for Chisholm, he's responsible. And he just doesn't take a ton of risks. And he's young enough at 24 that I think we can put that into the category of a good development piece. And think about this. Consider this for a second. The Winnipeg Jets opted to go with Logan Stanley over Declan Chisholm. They opted to keep the 6'9", the guy from the Addams family that answers the door, the butler, Lurch. They opted to keep Lurch over a smooth skating offensive defenseman. And Logan Stanley Lurch has been pretty bad this year. So I guess we have Rick Bowness to thank for that, or whoever their GM was at the time. You rang. Yeah. Logan Stanley, Lurch, use that one as you like. I will take no credit for it. But that's pretty much where I'm at. Chisholm is getting confidence as a result of time and success. Glad we have Declan rather than the baby giraffe on skates. Good point, Bob. Well said. Let's go back to this one from Trav. As a former D-man, I've noticed Faber floats high then to the boards when the puck goes out high to the D, and he's out of position a lot when that shot comes in, which leaves guys open. This might be, I think what I'll say about this is this may just be a bad habit that is harder to break. You know, those tendencies, whether good or bad, those tendencies get ingrained like muscle memory. I use golf as an analogy a lot because I have a lot of really bad habits with my swing. It's all muscle memory. And you can start the season with a completely different approach and have the thought to, well, I'm going to keep doing this. And all of a sudden, it's not working and you revert back to what you were doing. So I guess I hadn't noticed, Trav, but I'll see if I can do some investigative work on this. But my guess is it's just one of those kind of bad habit type things that, it's just something that he reverts back to and just needs to kind of clean that up a tad. But other than that, I think spot check or your check or your realistic right-handers in Iowa. Is spot check better at defense, or do the Wilds go the way of pairing your check with Faber or Brodin? Go with more offensive defensemen. I like the idea of adding more offense to this group, and a bigger body too. I mean, Spacek's a bigger body too, but I think Juracek is the closest of the bunch. So I would lean Juracek, because then this gives us an opportunity to kind of see where he's at in his process. Beyond that, you don't really have anybody else that's close. So I would just lean that route and let him get some experience, see what he's got, and go from there. Can't be any worse than Logan Stanley. Did I mention that the L'Heureux play was a dirty hit? I feel like I covered that. I think I did. Where else do we want to go? Comment section today had an interesting day. I have no earthly idea, considering that this team is in the midst of not playing a stretch of game. Wobbly Pops. Yeah. Yes. Kona sampler. Plus I've got champagne, for later. I want to talk about something that was put in the comment section. Like, I'm not trying to put anybody on blast. I just pretty blatantly disagree with the phrasing of this. Goat Satan Rex. Kirill's nagging lower body injury is actually him mentally checking out of this organization because he knows he's the only consistently great player on the roster and he's had enough beating up his body for no gain. You heard it here first. He will be traded next year before the season begins. The organization is calling it injury concerns to salvage ticket sales, but they know it's happening and they're terrified. This is a sinking ship, and NMC Billy is going down with it. Get ready to watch a bottom feeder for the next 5 years. I'm never going to tell anybody what to do from a fan perspective, but if you don't get any enjoyment from watching games, why are you watching? Why are you putting negative energy into your limited amount of time during the day by watching a team that gives you no joy? It's a stretch where it's a rough stretch, but we've got some, and not all. Not all. But there are some people that, like, the first adversity that hits during a season, and people are like, oh, time to tank. Like, call off the dogs. The season's over. Not a legitimate contender. All this stuff. And it's like, you're playing a stretch of games right now without Kirill Kaprizov. I would think any game that you can win without Kirill in the lineup is a bonus at this point. If the Wild would have lost to Nashville tonight, I would have said, well, what do you expect? Kirill's not in the lineup. This is a good opportunity for the Minnesota Wild to try to get other players to more consistently produce. They didn't do it against Ottawa. They did against the Predators. I'm not choosy at this point. Style points mean nothing to me. Enjoy. Like, we could be in a situation, and look, there are warts on this team. I'm not trying to say that everything is fine, that this team is playing like perfect hockey or anything. There are obviously some glaring areas that need to be addressed, but there are like, I'm going to have to try to do math again. There are 43 games in the season left. No, that's not right. 44. Yeah, 44 games left. You could get on a little run with the penalty kill. Matt Boldy will come back and go on a goal run again. Like, the Wild are second in the Central. They are third in the Western Conference in points. And it's a formula that's been predicated on good defense and good goaltending, because the Wild are fielding a roster with $15 million fewer than any other team. Guess what? You have that money available to you. You have enough scoring talent to contend with everybody else. So that was the area that fell on the sword for the buyouts, because you've got Kirill Kaprizov, you've got plenty of talented players on offense that can pick up the slack. So build a really good D-core, get yourself a really, really good goalie, and I don't know, like, for the tank crowd, guess what? You don't have a first-round pick this year, so tanking does you nothing. And you're not going to tank with Kirill Kaprizov anyway. If you want to talk about something that would lead to Kirill Kaprizov getting cold feet, it would be tanking at this point. So, like, I'm trying to do more of this as a fan and as somebody that covers this team too. And again, I'm not telling anybody how to I'm not telling anybody how to be a fan. Please don't construe this as that, because that's one of my main rules of doing this show, is that I will never tell anybody you have to you have to believe in this team, or you can't believe in this team because they're playing poorly. Just enjoy the ride a little bit. You could be Chicago right now. You could be San Jose. You could be think about how it would feel to be the New York Rangers right now. Crisis mode. Is it still on the early side for cup contention? Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. But I think some people just assume that there's nothing left. There's nothing in the future. Like, empty cupboard. That's not the case. There are a lot of good players that are going to be injected into this roster over the next year plus. Times are good. Times are good. Like, sorry, just some of these comments I read, I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Anyway, enough about that. Just as an FYI, Denver's goalie has been pretty bad in the last month, and I think Denver, even with all that offensive talent, gets bounced early, which means Zeev Boyum to Minnesota. And that is something I've consistently been saying since the Wild drafted him, is, he's going to go the Faber route. So how about that? How about that to add to your decor? Little Zeev Boyum on the second or third line. Michael Russo alluding to he quote tweeted Iowa's picture of Juracek's goal and said this could be Juracek's first and last goal for Iowa for a while. Zeev up here in April got me feeling nicey. I don't think anybody's going to get that. I don't think anybody's going to get that reference, but our pick is top 10 protect. We're not getting close to the top 10. So even for the tank crowd, even if the Wild would go on a skid, you're not getting close to the top 10. So that pick is gone, which is fine. I'm fine with having Juracek be a little project because, to be honest, the rest of the D prospects taking a little longer than expected. So bump him to the top of the line, and you're free rolling. Colorado is one injury away from catastrophe. Yeah, if Mackenzie Blackwood gets hurt, and here's the other thing too, Mackenzie Blackwood is in the lease on life stage, and Colorado is so desperate for even below average goaltending that they turn around and they give Blackwood a 5-year deal. His numbers were, he had one good season for the Devils. He's been horrendous in a couple of other seasons. But like, Colorado is very, I'll just phrase it this way. Let's go to the standings. Winnipeg is probably the only legitimate team in the West that scares me, because you can throw 50 shots on net against Connor Hellebuck, and more often than not, it's not going to be enough. So Winnipeg is a legitimate threat. Colorado is very beatable. I know the Los Angeles Kings have had the Minnesota Wild's number over the last 2 seasons. I don't think they're invulnerable. Vegas, beatable. Edmonton, beatable. Dallas, beatable. Vancouver, beatable. And then beyond that, Calgary, negative goal differential. St. Louis, negative goal differential. Utah, Seattle. Those are the only teams, because Anaheim, Nashville, San Jose, and Chicago, they're not good. They're not good teams. So the only other teams that are going to be fighting for playoff spots are Seattle, Utah, St. Louis, and Calgary. And there's nothing that any of those teams are doing right now other than being below 500. Calgary's 4-6 in the last 10. St. Louis 4-6. Utah 4-6. Seattle 4-6. And Seattle won 2 in a row to get to 4-6 in the last 10. Utah's lost 5 in a row. I'm not scared of many of the other teams in the West other than Winnipeg. Winnipeg's the one team that I say, yep, that's going to be a problem. So it's pretty wide open. West is pretty wide open. Comfortable giving Rossi the exact same deal as Boldy, 7x7. I'd sign that tomorrow. I would sign that tomorrow for Rossi. Easy. Said in another Discord server, but it feels like the entire Central, aside from the Jets, is just fumbling with tons of crap right now. Accurate. Very accurate. Colorado finally got their goaltending under control. Dallas is weird to me. I don't really get what the Stars are doing. But it looks like Jason Robertson's starting to kind of get back on track, which is good for them. But I don't know. Folks, Denny has started New Year's Eve celebration early, so I will cheers to that. And we welcome you into the comment section after a 5-3 win for the Minnesota Wild, and me doing a lot of venting today. But that's just what that just comes with the territory. What is Rossi up to right now? Oh my God, Denny's Jello shots. Boy, that is a mid-20s party for me. That is a long time ago. I left those days. A while ago. But that's okay. Plenty to go around. Why have these not updated yet? Is there some problem with the statistics? Four of 6 points without Kirill. I'd love to keep that pace up all season. With Kirill, 666 point average is great. That's the other thing, too, is this pace was never going to sustain for the Minnesota Wild. They were never going to sustain the pace that they started with. But you know what it did do? It allowed them the opportunity to buy some time as they navigate through these injuries. They have equity. And, this is going to be a tough stretch, but they've shown resilience. They have started to get things figured out after a rough stretch. Winnipeg had one earlier. Is Tage Thompson a realistic trade? As much as I would like to say yes, probably not. Because Buffalo has started to right the ship. And I don't know, unless Lindy Ruff is like, I can't coach this guy. Unless Lindy Ruff decides that he just can't work with Tage, it's probably not realistic. It was me having some fun. I'm a big dreamer. I like to dream big. Now, you could look at a couple of other teams in the West, but again, you really can't, because I guess the one maybe you could look at would be the Seattle Kraken, who have now won 2 in a row, but they're still 6 points out in the West. What do their books look like? Do I even want to know? Do I want to go down this road, or is it going to make me ill? I mean, you could go. Yanni Gourde is a unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. Brandon Tanev is an unrestricted free agent. They don't have any unrestricted free agents other than Josh Mahura on defense. So you'd be taking on term if you go after anybody in that realm. What is Yanni Gourde up to these days? He's got 6 goals, 10 assists, 16 points, 36 penalty minutes in 34 games. I don't know. I don't know if Seattle has anything that you would want. Who else? Maybe Utah? I don't know. Yeah, so Denny, I don't know if you saw the game. Zachary L'Heureux double slew-footed Jared Spurgeon into the boards. Dirty hit. I think if Spurgeon is out, I would imagine Jiricek will be up tomorrow, because what is the schedule? You've got a 3-game road trip. You got a 3-game road trip coming up. When does that start? Thursday? Yeah. Jiricek will be up tomorrow. I can pretty much guarantee that. So don't be surprised if the Minnesota Wild make a quick roster move with Jared Spurgeon. Now, somebody correct me on this if I'm wrong. You can put a player on injured reserve and then move them to long-term injured reserve, right? Can you do that? Because it wouldn't surprise me if that's the route that they go, to get the roster space now, and then they can retroactively do it for the cap space. I think is how that works. I think is how that could work. I need to become a resident capologist because, okay. Yeah, I need to just become like the God. What's the name of the guy for the Vikings? Rob Brzezinski. Oh, Trav's got us. Yes, that's how that can be done. Okay, so don't be surprised if that is, unless miraculously, they're like, oh yeah, no, Spurgeon's just got some knee soreness and he's good. Don't be surprised if he's put on injured reserve tomorrow, so that they can get the roster flexibility for the road trip and then reassess after that. Although it is only a 2-game road trip, so it's not like it's huge. But 4 out of your next 6 are going to be on the road. Washington, Carolina, this trip, then home against St. Louis and Colorado. Colorado for the first time this year, ladies and gentlemen. And then we play them in 11 days. And then at San Jose and at Vegas. And that's a back-to-back next week. Well, don't be surprised if there are no style points in that San Jose game. Anyone know what the projected cap space is for next year? According to our friends at what is this website? Puckpedia. The Minnesota Wilds next year have, oh my God, where is it? Urban saying roughly 22 milli. Now, that's assuming they do nothing. So a lot of that money will go to extensions. But depending on how much the salary cap goes up by, which, as Trav has pointed out to me, and it's very appreciated, they take the revenue for the year and use that to determine what the salary cap rise is for next year. That will likely be where the Wild make their move in free agency, is whatever the salary cap goes up by when that's finally determined, which will be at the end of the season. But these are players, like, the other way to look at it too is these are players that are going to be key pieces of what you're building going forward. Marco Rossi, big piece of what you're doing going forward. So that was always going to be an extension that you put on the books. Marat Huznadinov, I would imagine he gets a little bit of a raise and like a 2-year deal. So that's not going to super hurt you. Maybe you bring Jakub Lauko back, but that's not like that's going to be a big raise either. The one that's interesting is Declan Chisholm. He's making $1 million this year. And obviously, as we've talked about, he has stepped into a pretty critical role for this team and has played very well. So do you look at him as a building block for next season? John Merrill, Audi 5000 next year. Zach Bogosian does not have trade protection. Travis Dermott also probably gone next year. So if you keep Chisholm, you've still got spots for Boehm and Juracek, and that could work out in theory that you have Juracek fill one of the big body spots and Boehm fill Merrill's spot, and you keep Chisholm. Would Chisholm sign for a 2 or a 3 year deal for like a 1.5 to 2 million a year? Probably, maybe. I don't know. I'm not really good with speculating on contracts, among many other things. 3x3. That could be. Hines gushing over Rossi post game. So safe to say he has one over the brass. Yeah, I still would like to know officially what the story was on that in the offseason. Were they actively shopping? Were they gauging interest? We'll never know. But and yeah, if Bill Guerin would have simply listened to Denny, the 8-year $40 million would have already been locked in. Well, I think part of the reason that the Wild have waited is because they just wanted to see if he was able to stack this year on last year and put 2 good years together, and he obviously has. So yeah, it's going to cost you a little more, but I really am not. I really don't think there's going to be any problem in getting it done. I just don't. Like, I don't really sweat the contracts. Maybe that's bad of me, but I just don't really sweat the contracts because that's not something that there really is control over. I'm not negotiating the terms myself, so I just I don't know. It's a good question to close. Do I have a New Year's resolution? I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest. Because a lot of what I had been working for over the last 5-6 months was to get to where I'm at right now. So I think my New Year's resolution for 2025 is going to be to achieve balance between work, this, and my own free time. I think that's my resolution this year, is to achieve balance, because the plate is back to being full, and has been for the last month plus, couple of months. So that's going to be my year-long quest, is to just achieve that nice harmonic balance, and to not feel like I'm spreading the butter on the toast too thinly. So we'll see if I can accomplish that. But Minnesota Wild did accomplish their goal by finishing 2024 with a win, and we will await the word on Jared Spurgeon. I'll probably, the episode tomorrow will be kind of a hangover time, quote unquote. Because I want to wait and see. I don't know if the Wild are skating tomorrow. I'd imagine they are. I want to wait and see what the updates are before posting the episode. So probably around lunch, but we'll have some good info to go off of, hopefully, by that point. So we'll have that for you tomorrow. It's been said a lot in the comments, so I'm going to echo it. Have fun tonight. If you are celebrating, I'm going to be staying in. But be safe and make smart decisions if you do go out. A $15 or $20 Uber is worth the alternative 100 times out of 100. So just make good decisions, please. Have fun. You can have fun and you can make good decisions. There are going to be plenty of instances that nobody wants to have to read about tomorrow. So have fun, be safe, enjoy the start of 2025, and we'll be back with you tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Wild. So until then, enjoy your night. Wild win 5-3. See ya.